January 14th, 2021, 9:46 p.m. In a previous segment, I read a portion of Isaiah 65. I am not religious. This is all for a purpose. That purpose will be fleshed out over time. Anyway, let us get into this. Let us deal with history from the Oxford University Dictionary. The study of past events, particularly in human affairs. The past considered as a whole series of past events connected with someone or something, an eventful past, a past characterized by a particular thing, a continuous, typically chronological record of important public events or of a particular trend or institution. In a previous segment, I mentioned how Revelation chapters 21 and 22 used as a backdrop Isaiah chapter 65 and 66. Yes, they do. I know that this topic gets people in their feelings. I get that. But this topic is far more complicated and yet simple at the same time. I am a history buff. History is everything. You have to get this, regardless of how boring. I do not regard more highly people who are hundreds of years removed from when they tell us that these scriptures and documents were written. Eyewitness testimony is the best approach, as in the primary and later secondary sources. Whenever you read the New Testament where they say the scriptures, they are referring to the Old Testament unless you have a better explanation than this is what it is. The only Old Testament prophet that mentioned the new heaven and the new earth was Isaiah. We will go into some of the most useful sources that I found in narrowing down much of not only Revelation, but also the New Testament in general. Suetonius Tranquillus was the son of a Roman knight who commanded a legion on the side of Otho at the battle which decided the fate of the empire in favor of Vitellius. From incidental notices in the following history, we learn that he was born towards the close of the reign of Vespasian, who died in the year 79 of the Christian era. He lived till the time of Hadrian, under whose administration he filled the office of secretary, until with several others he was dismissed for presuming on familiarities with the Empress Sabina, of which we have no further account than that they were unbecoming his position and in the imperial court. Though many believe that the first Roman emperor was Caesar Augustus. In Tranquillus's The Lives of the 12 Caesars, he starts his memoirs with Julius Caesar, obviously holding him to be the first Roman emperor. So when we go to Revelation chapter 17, we see chapter 9. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Verse 10, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Verse 11, and the beast that was and is not, and even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. When counting from Julius Caesar as the first Roman emperor, the 6th king was Nero Caesar. As you read Revelation 17, you come to the explanation that the woman that is sitting upon a beast represents a city. The beast is a kingdom. Harkening back to Daniel chapter 2, in the explanation of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar saw in a dream by Daniel. This is why you must know the Old Testament if you are going to deal with Revelation. The writers that took part in the book knew that Old Testament very well. They also knew the contemporary history very well. Like all documents, you have to see it from the standpoint of the writer, not taking their writings and being liberal, which causes it to become vague, ambiguous, while making it to mean many things to different people. We seem to not do this when we are in college or in job training. While John is obviously harkening back to Isaiah's writings, it would appear that he is taking liberty with said writings. Isaiah is never talking about heaven, as you will see with reading all the 21st and 22nd chapters of Revelation. So let me stop for a moment. Notice how I said that Isaiah is never talking about heaven. What I mean is heaven as you have come to understand it. We're not talking about some off-planet, nebulous place in the spirit realm or in space. That is not even what the Bible's talking about. More on that at another time. Let us look at one more thing. The Olivet Discourse, which is a discussion that Jesus had before the Pharisees and scribes, which was recorded in Matthew chapter 24, Mark chapter 13, and Luke chapter 21. We will utilize Mark chapter 13. Verse 1, and as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples saith unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. Verse 2, and Jesus answering said unto him, Seest thou these great buildings? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Verse 3, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives over against the temple, Peter and James and John and Andrew asked him privately. Verse 4, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign when all these things shall be fulfilled? After Jesus harshly rebuked the Pharisees and scribes, he and 4 of his disciples walked out of the temple just before Jesus predicts that that very temple and other buildings would be destroyed. He told them that would happen before they all died. Finally, let us look at the War of the Jews, or the Jewish Wars, by Flavius Josephus. First, who is Flavius Josephus? Flavius Josephus, original name Joseph ben Matthias, born AD 37 or 39. Let me stop. AD is Anno Domini. CE is Common Era. Jerusalem. Died AD 100 in Rome. Jewish priest, scholar, and historian who wrote valuable works on the Jewish revolt of 66 to 70 and on earlier Jewish history. His major books are History of the Jewish War, 75 to 79. The Antiquities of the Jews, 93, and Against Appian. This is quoted from Britannica, the Encyclopedia Britannica. All right. Of the War, Book 7, containing the interval of about 3 years from the taking of Jerusalem by Titus to the sedition at Cyrene. Chapter 1, how the entire city of Jerusalem was demolished, excepting 3 towers, and how Titus committed his soldiers in a speech made to them and distributed rewards to them, and then dismissed many of them. Section 1. Now, as soon as the army had no more people to slay or to plunder, because there remained none to be the subjects of their fury, for they would not have spared any had there remained any other work to be done. Caesar gave orders that they should now demolish the entire city and temple, but should leave as many of the towers standing as were of the greatest eminency, that is, Phasaelis and Hippicus and Mariamne, and so much of the wall as enclosed the city on the west side. This wall was spared in order to afford a camp for such as were to lie in garrison, as were the towers also spared in order to demonstrate to posterity what kind of city it was, and how well fortified, which the Roman valor had subdued. But for all the rest of the wall, it was so thoroughly laid, even with the ground, by those that dug it up to the foundation, that there was left nothing to make those that came thither believe it had ever been inhabited. I gotta read that sentence again. But for all the rest of the wall, it was so thoroughly laid, even with the ground, by those that dug it up to the foundation, that there was left nothing to make those that came thither believe it had ever been inhabited. Ooh. This was the end which Jerusalem came to by the madness of those that were for innovations, a city otherwise magnificence and of mighty fame among all mankind. How do you explain that? The temple and surrounding buildings were destroyed in that Roman-Jewish war that took place between 66 and 70 AD or CE. I explained what AD and CE meant earlier. Prophecy. We will deal with that another time. Regardless, the Olivet Discourse is shown to have discussed the events that Flavius Josephus recorded. Revelation 17 is shown to have contemporary Roman history in it. The angel explains to John what some of the things meant, like the woman being a city called Mystery Babylon. The beast in this chapter is a kingdom which harkens back to Daniel chapter 2. Forgive me for the time that it has taken just to get you here. The subject matter is complicated, but simple also once you do not look at it theologically. We can deal with theology as well, but history shows us that this stuff has an actual place in the real world, devoid of ambiguity. All right, folks, until next time, see you on the flip side.